quarterback.
Oh, there's a goal. At least I thought he was gonna until he blew it.
This video is proudly sponsored by FuboTV. Baseball season is well underway, but it's not too late for you to get your sports fix by any means necessary. I get it, cable is expensive and money is tight. But what if I were to tell you that there's an option to get a plethora of sports options for half the cost of cable? It's possible thanks to FuboTV. They feature over 100 channels on their service, including all the big sports platforms. All 4 major sports networks, national sports channels, regional and local stations, NFL Red Zone, even international sports are covered. I can even witness select games in glorious 4K. If I miss a game, I can record it and watch later. It's an excellent option for cord cutters everywhere. Not only is it broad in selection, but it's painless to sign up, free to try, and easy to cancel. No loopholes, no obligations. They're raising the bar as well. FuboTV has just secured the exclusive streaming rights for the South American World Cup qualifiers. And there's more on the way. Why wait? By going to FuboTV.com/Utree, you can save 15% off your first month subscription rate. And with FuboTV, you don't have to worry about it breaking your heart. The sports do enough of that to begin with. We've already finished a month of baseball. And it surprises me as well. But even in infancy, this year has put us through so many twists and turns that it's been intriguing to the naked eye. I'm gonna try something different this time around. Instead of trying to go over most teams and how they're doing, I'm going to discuss the stories that have made this month notable. I want to at least pretend that I'm doing something for the good of the game. Lord knows it can use it these days. Even when baseball is trying to improve its relationship with the fan base, they still find amazing ways to fuck it up. This month's major screw-ups involve those lovable umpires and their judgment calls of doom. Yes, Angel Hernandez and Joe West are still around, I hate it as well. For example, the Marlins and Mets were in the middle of an intense game early in April. The men from Queens were making a statement in their home opener, loading the bases for Michael Conforto when they were tied in the 9th. Then the controversy. Conforto was hit by a pitch. Walk-off winner for the Mets, but there's one problem. The pitch was in the strike zone. Conforto shouldn't have reached base. Ron Culpa even admitted his mistake after the fact. Now, human error can be forgiven, it's inevitable, but when you double down on it with technology, that is unforgivable. Such an event occurred between the Phillies and Braves. The game is tied at 6 in the top of the 9th. Man on third, Didi Gregorius at the plate. He flies out to Marcell Ozuna, who throws a strike to Travis d'Arnaud. But Alec Bohm is ruled safe at home. It seems suspect. When the play is inevitably challenged, we ask one thing. Did Bohm even touch the plate? From a few angles, it seems like he didn't. But in the rules of officiating, if it's inconclusive, rule on the side of the umpire who made the call because we don't want to bruise egos. Bohm is safe. The Braves end up losing the game. Maybe it was due to the Posey rule that's enforced roughly 15% of the time. Once again, baseball finding controversy where none should be found. Even with robot umps, they probably would have fucked this up. The same goes for the MLB All-Star Game this season. Although this situation wasn't caused by baseball itself, but external factors. Long story short, the state of Georgia passed legislation that, let's just say, hasn't been warmly received by a good portion of its populace. Opinions aside, there's a lot of pressure on corporations and companies to disavow this controversial bill. And Major League Baseball saw this as impetus to make a sudden change. Cobb County was originally slated to host this year's festivities, but not anymore. It was stripped from them like a franchise moving in the middle of the night. But where would it be held now? There are good options out there, but for baseball they needed to reward the cheap-ass ownership in Colorado. The All-Star Game is coming back to the biggest bar in Denver. Some call it Coors Field. Yes, the Rockies are garbage this season, thanks for asking. I give them 3 months before they trade Trevor Story for pocket change. I won't fault baseball for this. They were damned if they did it and damned if they didn't. Just a shitty situation to have to make a decision on. The real losers here are the fans and businesses of Atlanta. They lost a lucrative event. And considering this past year, they could have used those revenues. Unfulfilled expectations. They're a bitch. For fans of the New York Yankees, this month has been outright agony. Instead of the high-flying, dominating bunch that was advertised, they get the spryness of a geriatric. The complete inability to hit and produce runs has been alarming to many of the pinstripe faithful. The big guns have been underperforming massively. Giancarlo still can't hit off-speed pitches. Gary Sanchez is once again slumping. The Jay Bruce experiment was ended with a gunshot behind the woodshed. The gambles made at starting pitching have not worked thus far. It all leads to a group teetering on the edge. April be damned. Small sample size the fans all you want, they demand results. And they want to make their voices heard. Endless cheering in the stands and on radio. Trash being spewed onto the field as an act of symbolism. First world problems are aplenty in the Bronx. It's fucking April. If they're still struggling come June, then you can panic. But for the meantime, calm your tits. The Red Sox, though, are simply going to sit back and laugh as they currently lead the AL East at this point in time. You can thank the efforts of Christian Arroyo, Rafael Devers, and the resurgent JD Martinez for this. The pitching staff has also subsequently revived itself, but not before an embarrassing opening series sweep at the hands of the Orioles. John Means has turned out to be pretty good on their front, and times were dark in Boston. Then the Red Sox rattled off 9 consecutive wins, and life was good again. For now, they're on a slight skid, but things have settled down for now. Will the good times continue under the resurgent Cora regime? Or will their rivals strike back at them? Time will tell. In the south side of Chicago, they were about to begin the season with a massive hole in their lineup. Overlooking a deep home run in spring training, Eloy Jimenez thought he could be Superman and leap 50 feet in the air to rob it. The only thing he came down with was a long-term injury. F's in the chat for the newfound hole in left field. However, when an opportunity presents itself, surprising things can happen. The newfound savior for the White Sox isn't a top prospect, but an unknown commodity by the name of Yermin Mercedes, a 28-year-old journeyman who has bounced around several organizations in his career. To begin the year, Mercedes was hitting every goddamn thing in sight. The Yerminator has tapered off from his hot start, but he wasn't going to hit 500 forever. The question remains if he's a legit major league bat or just another flash in the pan. Either way, it's a great story, and proof that great ball players can come from anywhere. Detroit is experiencing the same thing. The team as a whole still leaves much to be desired, but one man has captured the hearts of baseball fans everywhere. Akil fucking Badoo! A Rule 5 draftee who hadn't played above A-ball in his career and suffered a major injury in this time frame. All he needed was one pitch and he made an impact. He's gone from a huge question mark to smacking everything in sight. Legitimate gap and home run power to be a threat in every at-bat he has. For as good as he's been, once again long-term questions about him remain. His walk-to-strikeout ratio is atrocious and will need to be improved upon. But the spirit of the underdog is strong in Badoo. The baseball world will be eager to watch him succeed. Expected to be favorites for the AL Central, the Twins have been relatively disappointing to start out the year. They're a team of haves and have-nots. The guys struggling have been literal black holes, creating a chasm that few can try to repair. But the guys thriving, though, they've been must-watch. Nelson Cruz, the old sensei of SWAT, has been hitting dongs with incredible ease. Don't tell him he'll be 41 in July, he'll hit more homers as consequence. The other big piece has been a man who has teased great potential but hasn't stayed healthy enough to tap into it. Byron Buxton has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball in the month of April. Elite contact, game-changing power, strong discipline. This is the kind of production that many were hoping for when he was brought up to the show. Now they're finally getting it, but have some climbing to do to get over the Clevelands, Kansas Cities, and Chicagos of the world. Yes, Kansas City has been pretty good to start out the year as well. And with an extension of Salvador Perez before the season, they believe the time is now to start their reemergence. Strong pitching, good home run power, Whit Merrifield. They're a wild card moving forward, especially since nobody has taken a stronghold in the AL Central. Oakland and Houston, the yin and yang of the 2021 season so far. When one team thrives, the other suffers famine and vice versa. In A's land, times were very harsh to start the year. With a beginning slump losing their first 6 and 7 of 8, doubts were beginning to seep into the minds of fans everywhere. Maybe the magic was over. The answer, not today. In a sudden change of form and swagger rivaling Moneyball, the Athletics proceeded to rattle off 13 straight wins to reassert themselves in the AL West. It's been a team effort. Jed Lowry has returned from his exodus to Injury Island to be an efficient hitter. Matt Olson has been the bona fide leader of the hitting corps so far. And this is with a slumping Matt Chapman. As their pitching has been well-rounded, the Astros have suffered the opposite fate. Starting out the year 6-1 in young pitching emerging, they weren't missing George Springer whatsoever. After that, however, a series that 180 the fortunes of both franchises. Oakland thrived while Houston lost 9 of 10. A great man bequeathed upon them a gift in the form of an inflatable garbage can during this time. God bless him. I doubt the Astros are going to keep losing games like this for long, but it'll be a fight to overcome the third competitor for the division lead. And that would be Seattle. Yes, the Mariners have awoken from their year-long dick-punching slumber to start out white-hot. Mitch Haniger, finally healthy, has brought about a hitting revolution. He is joined by Ty France, of all people, in leading the way. The rest of the team features a ridiculously strong front line of the bullpen, led by a random chorus of Rafael Montero, Will Vest, Kendall Graveman, Anthony Misevich, and Casey Sadler. Most of the lineup has been struggling, but it's an interesting wrinkle, even with James Paxton being knocked out for the year. I'm merely waiting for June and the prospects to be called up, though. That's when the fun will begin in Seattle. As it was written and shall always be, the NL East is an absolute bloodbath. Every game is a fascinating duel of wits, almost playoff-like in intensity. Although that honor goes to another series I will mention later. Every team is alive. Well, for most of the season, as the Nationals had to deal with a COVID outbreak that delayed their start by a few days, and are now dealing with a potentially calamitous injury to Steven Strasburg, but they're still in the hunt. The Mets, though, they are seeking the true prize. They needed to make a statement. And by God, they did it by locking up Francisco Lindor long-term for a king's ransom. He has been lacking so far, but the two-headed pitching monster of Marcus Stroman and Jacob deGrom hasn't. New York has even paid tribute to past seasons in deGrom's pitching performances by not doing a damn thing on offense for him. They have been struggling to maintain form, but I'm still bullish on their long-term prospects, as I am with the Phillies. They've been the benefactors of a certain call that Atlanta will rue until the end of time, but at least the bullpen hasn't been hot trash so far. I'll call it progress. They're getting more production from their bats than Ronald Acuna carrying the Braves at this point in time. And don't overlook the Marlins, they're still sticking around as well. I told you they weren't going to be garbage this year. I'm glad I'm being proven right about them. The NL Central has also been a gauntlet, but I want to focus on one player's efforts in particular here. An unsung hero who's led the Brewers to great heights by his outstanding pitching efforts alone. That man's name is Corbin Burnes. In an effort to bring Milwaukee back to the promised land, Burnes has channeled the spirits of Koufax, Pedro, and Randy Johnson. His dominance over the past month will be sung by bards throughout the bleachers of every stadium throughout the land. No walks given up whatsoever. 40 strikeouts. His only run given up a solo shot. You don't need fancy analytics to tell you that's good. Don't tell me it's unsustainable. Corbin Burnes is the legend Milwaukee needs in these troubling times. It's even overshadowing the efforts of Brandon Woodruff and Josh Hader. He's been that good for the Brew Crew. When the fuck could Omar Narvaez hit like that? There's one thing that hasn't been stressed enough in this age of baseball. It's been the burgeoning rivalries that will play a huge role in long-term ambitions. Deep in the heart of California, two teams are consistently fighting for supremacy in the NL West. Every match having the intensity and excitement of a Game 7 clash. Dodgers and Padres. Must-watch baseball every time they face off against each other. Even early on into the season, the excitement in each contest has been at a fever pitch. LA and San Diego, as has been referenced throughout history, have been at each other's throats. It's the kind of baseball that we need to witness for ourselves. Epic pitching clashes. Climactic endings to games. I can't put into words how vital these games are to this season. Thank the fucking Lord that Fernando Tatis Jr. wasn't injured for the long term, because we need him for this rivalry to reach its full potential. I can only look forward to future matchups. There is never enough of them to satisfy the baseball lust. There is another competitor to those two in the NL West, however, and it was a group few expected to reach such a height. San Francisco. Giants. I know they were a tiebreaker away from making the expanded postseason last year, but their roster was either unproven or was on the wrong side of 30. How can they be dominating? Oh, I see. The pitching has been lights out. Combined with elite reliable defense, they have been a nightmare for opposing hitters. Johnny Cueto has aged down 7 years in this time frame. Same for the revival of Aaron Sanchez, Kevin Gausman, and Anthony DeSclafani. The hitting hasn't been anything mind-blowing, but they've been getting production from a lot of different sources, so it's been allowing them to go on this strong streak. I have no idea if this is sustainable, but their emergence has added a curveball to what we thought would be a top-heavy NL West. It'll be interesting to see how this shapes up in the next few months. You want me to pick on the Rockies for how terrible they are, don't you? I will admit it's a fun sport to play. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Colorado has been one of the worst teams in baseball. They haven't been necessarily bad, but they haven't been anything all that good either. The only bright note has been the emergence of Ryan McMahon, but everyone else is trade bait. And another round of Jeff Bridich ruining everything was on the table. Even then, Bridich knows there is nothing else to ruin on a team that's hit rock bottom. The organization wanted to pretend he had some dignity left and let him escape through an underground passage. Rest easy, Jeff. You've done enough fucking up to last over 1,000 lifetimes. Does it mean anything? No, not really. Dick Monfort is probably going to cheap out on his next hire and guys will be traded for peanuts at the deadline. It also doesn't help that Arenado is off to a strong start in St. Louis, but we all saw that coming too. Don't worry folks, they're already dead. Before I conclude this video, I wanted to send a quick congratulations to Sean Kazmar of the Atlanta Braves. He had once sniffed the show as a Padre back in 2008, but it's been almost 13 years between trips to the Bigs. He may have grounded into a double play in his first plate appearance back, but it just goes to show how hard it is to stay up here. A true showing of perseverance, and he should be respected for it. The other honor goes to Luke Litke of the New York Yankees, who secured his first win at the major league level since 2013. He may have been modest with his accomplishment, but an 8-year window between wins also shows dedication to the sport itself. These are the accomplishments that we need to cherish, and Kazmar and Litke are just two of those who will bask in it. Well done, gentlemen. We also have had a couple of no-hitters that have blessed this timeline. The first goes to new San Diego Padre Joe Musgrove, who walked into Arlington and smoked Rangers at the plate like they were barbecue. His no-hitter isn't only the first of his career, but the first in Padre history. A cherished moment indeed. The second one belongs to Carlos Rodon of the Chicago White Sox. He was dominant in his start against the Cleveland Indians, throwing a perfect game into the 9th inning. But one small screw-up robbed him of perfection. A curveball was misfired and hit Roberto Perez in the foot. Man on base, perfection thwarted. He will have to take the consolation prize of the 20th no-hitter in White Sox history. It's not optimal, but it's still a moment to rejoice nonetheless. You know what? I'll give a shout out to Mad Bum who threw a no-hitter as well. But this one won't be put in the record books because it happened during a 7-inning doubleheader game. Wait a second. So you can have official games in the 7-inning time frame, but records don't count? Am I missing something here? Just put an asterisk on it to signify it was a 7-inning game. Are they really that afraid of asterisks? I also want to mention the Texas Rangers. Not for their middling on-field product, but because they opened the gates to anyone who desired a ticket. Their opening day was the first capacity crowd at a North American sporting event since the beginnings of coronavirus. Not gonna lie, this gives me the feels. I am just so proud of Arlington and their swelling of support for minor league baseball. Keep it up, everyone. And finally, over the past month, a tragedy has struck the meme world. Bernie Madoff has died rotting in a prison as he deserved to. But why is his death so important to baseball? The answer is simple. If it weren't for him, Bobby Bonilla wouldn't have had his contract deferred by the Mets. At the time he was bought out, the Wilpons were confident that they would earn far more money by investing in Madoff than they would pay in interest to Bonilla. Thus, we get the legend that is Bobby Bonilla Day as a result of such overconfidence. Madoff, in a way, created one of the most legendary memes in sports history. And for that, I light a candle to this Ponzi scheming bastard. For in his greed, he brought about a sick joy to the baseball world. Now rot in hell for an eternity.
That ball gets away, play at the plate, and safe at the plate. And Castellano words with Jake Woodford. And here we go. Arenado is all over it.